Johnny, can you shut the door, that back door? Yeah, can you shut it? Thank you.
Great. Good morning, everybody. We're about to get started, so if people can get their seats. We'll have some opportunities throughout the conference to do some networking. We've got a packed schedule today, so just to stay on time and to get everybody out on time, we wanna get the show on the road. If you can help me shut that door in the back, that way we can. Thank you so much. Well, again, good morning, y'all. Thank you very much for attending today's AI and Cybersecurity Conference. My name is Phil Fulani, and I have the honor of being the Chamber's Executive Director. Before we begin, I would like to ask if you can please silence your phones while you're in the main room out of respect for our guests and speakers. But before you put your phones away, you'll see on your card or your table there's a card with a QR code. If you scan that card, that will bring up the program's agenda, as well as our speaker bios and information about our sponsors. So please go ahead and scan that card, and we ask if you can silence your phone as well. And now, to get our program rolling, at this time, I would like to invite our Chamber's Chairman, Mr. Sunil Maini, to provide our Chairman's remarks. Mr. Maini is a proud Texan since 1981. He was born in New Delhi, India, and moved to the U.S. as a student. A proud alumnus of UT Dallas with a degree in accounting and finance, Mr. Maini became a CPA in 1987, and in 1990 he started his accounting firm, Sunil Maini CPA PC, and they've been serving the DFW Metroplex for over the past 33 years. Mr. Maini has served in the community in various roles through IANT and served as president in 1998, co-chair of the Board of Trustees in 2002, and chairman of the Board of Trustees in 2015. In addition to being the chairman of the Chamber, he also holds the title of Chair Emeritus and has a brilliant track record of leading the Chamber in 2012 and 2013. In 2021, Mr. Maini was instrumental in lighting the Dallas downtown skyline in the colors of the Indian flag to celebrate India's 75th Independence Day. Mr. Maini is actively associated with the Dallas Indian Lions Club since 1991 and is the second-ranking Lion of the Dallas Lions India Club. He's also active in Chinmaya Mission DFW for the past 33 years and has served as a board member, treasurer, and internal auditor. In addition, Mr. Maini has been a board member since 2022 with the Dallas Regional Chamber. Since last year, Mr. Maini has served as member of the University of Texas at Dallas International Service Advisory Board for the 2022-2026 academic year. Mr. Maini is a proud husband to his wife Shalini, and the couple is blessed with an adult daughter and a son who are both married. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Maini to the stage.
Thank you, Kamal, and thank you all for joining us today. When studying security, a business or a government has to be safe from three types of threats: external competition, external threats, and for this, continued innovation is necessary to remain stronger than the enemy. The FBI, the CIA are good examples, besides the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, etc. One has to be ever on alert and prepared, including falling down to the hacking of banks and utilities. Second are the internal threats from thieves, from thugs, from intellectual property. We need protection from that. For that, the spies who enter the country. For that, the state police, the sheriffs, local police are good examples of safeguarding from the internal threats. The third threat is an insider, a friend who knows secrets and transforms into an enemy. Non-compete agreements, non-disclosure agreements are signed to safeguard from such. To fend all these, today's conference comes at a very opportune time. We hear about different technology issues and innovations at such a rapid pace these days. But as we grow as a community and as a nation, as a business organization, we need to learn how to incorporate these new innovations and also how to stay ahead of the curve to counter technological threats. Today we are proud and excited to bring you our keynote speakers and panelists to discuss the latest developments in AI and cybersecurity. A special thanks to our friends Shanti Rajaram, Tejas Shroff for their participation. Thank you to all of our sponsors and speakers for helping make this year's conference. And thank you to our board members in attendance today. I see lot of them that I'm going to take the name of, not here yet, but they'll be here soon. I want to mention the name of our founding chair, A.K. Mago, our chairman-elect, Raj Malik. Raj Malik, is your picture on the screen now? Can you stand up? I'm sure he will be the chair in our 25th year next year. Niti Khaitan, she's right here. She's our secretary. Nidima Gonuruntla, our treasurer. Sanjeev Khanna, our past chair. Suhas Nayak, also a past chair. G.S. Saklu, he's the one who organized and major contributor of today's event. Dr. Dinesh Bhatia is a professor at UTD. Rajneesh Gupta, he's at Intuit. He's the worldwide head of global partnerships. There you go, thank you. Satish Manduva, and very proud to have him as a board member, and he's helping us set up the National Chamber also. And Gaurav Shekhar and Lalit Aluwalia. Lalit also helped a lot in today's event, as did Satish Manduva too. When I was young, my father told me, if you want to be successful at anything, learn to build a team of teams. People who know how we select people, they should be smarter than, at least when I am selecting them, I select people smarter than me. And that way, to get the task accomplished becomes automatic. And I'm very grateful for the leadership that was provided by G.S. Saggu, Lalit Aluwalia, and Satish Manduva for today's event. For a quick update about the Chamber, I'm excited to announce that we will mark our 25th anniversary next year. And as we continue to grow, we are also expanding to form chapters in all states and various cities within the states. We have successfully launched the Austin chapter and are looking forward to launching chapters in New York, New Jersey area, and also Washington, D.C. by the end of next month. That will happen. 95%. It will happen. But 98% by the end of July. In the formation of the national organization, I am surrounded by personalities such as A.K., Satish Manduva, and Sanjeev Khanna and Raj Malik, and I am grateful for the support that we are receiving from them. It's through events and conferences similar to today where we are able to help our members network with new faces and leaders and help create new contacts. Our goal is to translate contracts out of contacts that we build. For those in attendance today who are not members of the Chamber, we encourage you to reach out to us and join and build a relationship. If you have friends in other states wanting to form a Chamber, please share those contacts with us. And thank you very much. The conference starts now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunilji, for those remarks. And as Sunilji said, we're kicking off the conference, and as you may have seen on our event flyers, our theme for this year's conference is AI and cybersecurity. And with so many tech and IT professionals in attendance today, I don't have to tell you about the buzz and discussions that this topic has generated over the past year, but over like the past 2 days. It's continuously going on and on and on. And it seems like every day we hear about emerging AI, ChatGPT, or new cyber threats. And to add some context, a recent article published by Reuters mentioned the importance of staying up to date with all the new and fast changes taking place in the tech space. In the article, a research analyst was quoted as saying, "Cybersecurity has become more crucial than ever due to the rapid digital transformation taking place across industries." In the same article, it also mentioned that worldwide spending on cybersecurity solutions is expected to rise 12.1% to hit $219 billion in 2023. That seems like an extremely high spending amount, but I don't think it should come as a surprise seeing the daily tech advances that our corporations and organizations need to stay ahead. And to add more insight into what we're seeing in today's tech world, we have a great lineup of speakers, including our two keynote speakers in Ugly Desai, the CEO of Shellman, and Arun Subramaniam, the Chief Business Officer for L&T Technology Services, and our speakers for our three keynote panels today. Each of them will provide their own expertise from a leadership perspective and how they are keeping up with the fast-changing technological landscapes. Before we get to hear from them, I'd like to recognize our outstanding sponsors for today's conference. And as you know, without them, we cannot carry out this annual event. So to thank our platinum sponsors, L&T Technology Services, Great Plains Bank, EPAM, and Crow James, thank you so much for all your support. And to our gold sponsors, Wells Fargo, DFW, and Texas AI, thank you again. And to our silver sponsors, UTD Dallas Nevada General School of Management, Intuit, Amazec, UT Dallas Johnson School of Engineering and Computer Science, Quorum Partners, S-Base, and Intelli. And to our expo sponsors, Cybalt, HR Checks, AA2IT, RBFC Randolph Brooks Federal Credit Union, TechieBear, and Studio Maine CPA. And lastly, to our media and community partners, Radio Caravan, TV9, iAsia News, Applause Productions, the South Lake Chamber of Commerce, the Indus Entrepreneurs Dallas Golf Chapter, and Indus Golf. And then also our friends at TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs. So please give them a hand and thanking them again. Thank you so much for all y'all's support. And as Mr. Maney said, I would also again like to recognize our conference committee members. This event came together with their vision and thought process on making today's conference informative and engaging. As Sunil said, thank you again to GS, to Lily, and Satish for leading our committee and making it into what it is today. And a big thank you again to our board members in attendance today. Thank you for your support and for taking time out of your day to be here. So to get the conference started, we'll kick off today with our first panel, which is our CEO panel. And they're going to talk about the influence of AI on digital transformation and speeding up digital business. At this time, I would like to welcome the panel's moderator, Ms. Shanti Rajaram, to the stage. Shanti started her technology career 25 years back at Infosys and IBM. She's the founder and CEO of Amazec Solutions, a boutique software services company based out of DFW Metroplex. Shanti brings an uncompromising focus on delivering client expectations through her collaborative consulting partnership with clients. Shanti holds an MBA from the Cox School of Business at SMU and graduated from the College of Engineering in Trivandrum, India. She is passionate about technology, mentoring, upcoming entrepreneurs, and women. She serves on multiple boards, including Tech Titans, the Frisco Chamber of Commerce, UNT Advanced Environmental Research Institute, and Cassandra Capital. She has also served on the boards of other organizations like DFW Alliance of Technology and Women, Lift Fund, and Women's Business Council. Thank you so much for being here, Shanti. And while Shanti gets settled in on the stage, I would also like to welcome all our panelists to come on stage as well. Today we have Rushmi Jain, the CEO of Carrington, Jeff DeFord, CTO of Parkland, and Sucheta Kohli, Executive Director of JP Morgan Chase. Thank you all for being here today. With that, Shanti, I'll take it over to you.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. It's a lot of pressure to start the day. We'll see how it goes. Just a small introduction. Let's start with you, Rashmi. Please tell a little bit about yourself, and that gives a background for people on where this information is coming from.
Absolutely. So I'm Rashmi Jain, I'm CIO at Carrington International. We are primarily a healthcare company, and we have 4 affiliate companies. We have the largest network of dental providers in the nation. We also provide direct-to-consumer digitized solutions to large carriers like United, Aetna, VSP. And we have a telehealth company where we provide teledental health, telemental health, telemedical health, and as well as televet health. So IT centralized for all of our affiliate companies. I've been with the company for 25 years now, so practically grew up there, and it's been an exciting ride. I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you, Shanti, and our chamber. And lastly, I want to give a little shout out to our veterans and our armed forces with the upcoming Memorial Day.
Thank you, Rashmi. Go ahead, Jeff.
Good morning, I'm Jeff DeFord. I'm an auditor here in Texas. I'm a native Texan. I've been at Parkland Hospital, which is the Parkland Hospital, since 2017. About 30 years in technology. Parkland is absolutely a challenge. The mission is what keeps me here. It's a very challenging and complex organization. 900-bed acute care hospital, 42 or so remote locations, and the disaster center for Dallas and public safety net hospital. So everything we do is absolutely critical. Like the fact that we're making a difference. Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Sucheta Kohli, and I'm the Executive Director from JP Morgan Chase. I manage their IT organization for acquisitions marketing. I don't think I need to introduce Chase to anybody. It's probably a very well-known bank for all of you, but I'm really excited that we're able to make a positive impact in the lives of our customers, which is pretty much half of the population in the US, in a great way as far as getting all of the financial products into their hands.
Thank you, Sucheta. My name is Shanti Rajaram. I am a technologist for 30 years, entrepreneur for the last 16. Learning, building solutions, and building things from scratch are my passion. So I don't know if technology made me like that, or my learning skill got me into technology. It keeps changing, so we are challenged to pick things up, and we are services company, so we have to deliver to our clients' needs. So that's what we do. I'm really thankful for US India Chamber of Commerce for giving me the opportunity to moderate this panel. I look up to you guys, looking forward to this conversation. And the topic is really engaging, influence of AI and ChatGPT in digital transformation and speeding of digital business. That's a mouthful, but we'll try to cover most of it. So when I started my career 30 years back, there were just some black screens. If you remember those days, no windows, no nothing, there was no internet either. And over a period of time, we have seen a lot of technologies come up. Internet is one of them. Wireless technologies has changed. Smartphones have changed the way we live. So as consumers, we see a lot of difference in the way technology has developed. I would like one of you to volunteer and share with the audience, what does digital transformation or digital acceleration really mean in your world? And the other two are not left. I would like to follow up with, in your specific industry, I'm actually very glad we have three different industries that we are representing. What does digital transformation look for in your industry?
So when you talk about digital transformation and digital acceleration, what comes to my mind, like you said, is the smartphone, right? 15 years ago, I would have never thought that I would be depositing my checks all from my iPhone. And today, it's commonplace. So what we really look for when we talk about digital transformation is how can you make a difference in human behavior? A tool is a tool at the end of the day, unless somebody, a human being, actually uses it and uses it for a positive impact, for a change in their behavior. And that's kind of what we think when we talk about digital transformation. What are the newer use cases that we can invest in AI, and to figure out for all of our enterprises, how do we change the human behavior to make a positive impact? How can we use it in order for our lives to be much easier, more convenient? How can we be more efficient in what we are doing when we use AI?
Go ahead with that.
I can add a bit to that. As CTO at Parkland, what we do saves lives. The way we employ technology, our selection of technology, is to, at the end of the day, help our providers and serve our patients for a better outcome. We're not in a situation where we need more business. That's just not what we do. So really, when we look at our solutions, it's about driving efficiency and having a better provider and a better patient outcome. So how do we apply and measure these tools to bring about these differences is really the role of a CTO. So when we're looking at these evolutions of technology, we have to be judicious, responsible, and apply it in a way that is meaningful.
So I bring the perspective of a third-party administrator, the large insurance carriers. I'm going to age myself a bit here, but when I first started at Carrington, we had a Nortel network, and we had to do an all-page, for the people that still remember that, when we would exceed the number of licenses of people logged in. So needless to say, we've come a long way since then. We had a Unix Informix system. We've always had custom core applications from a CRM and administrative standpoint, because the level of customization we offer to our clients is just not accommodated by out-of-the-box solutions that other companies offer. So over the years, we've evolved from that Nortel Unix Informix platform to now be offering fully digitized solutions for direct-to-consumer space for large carriers to offer their group-based products. So the focus that we have for digital transformation at Carrington revolves around making healthcare accessible to Americans across the country. So we try to find alternatives to major med, not looking to replace it, but making sure that there's an affordable alternative from a digital solution standpoint, and along with that, our telehealth companies provide an alternative to actually having to go into a provider's office. And that was a huge plus during the last 2 to 3 years when we were going through the whole pandemic.
Yeah, I can believe that most of us have gone through that transition. Now, as a services company, when some new technology comes, we are excited to pick it up because that's our way of serving the clients. And as leaders in your company and industry, I'm sure that you guys look at technology a little differently. It's not that as soon as AI comes or ChatGPT comes, you can jump on it. There are due diligence that you need to do. So I would like for you to share, we'll go this way. How is the thought process? How do you decide this is a technology that we want to implement? I know that technology doesn't drive business, it's the business that drives the technology that you need to use. So how does that thought process work in your organizations?
So that's tricky because every few years a buzzword comes in the tech industry, and it's the shiny new object. It was cloud computing 3 years ago, and people who are technologists really knew that it wasn't anything different from what already existed in the hosting scenarios that we had. So then came ChatGPT and AI. Well, I think what the general public forgets is that it was an evolution over the years. In 1950, Alan Turing said there would be a machine that would be smart enough to beat a person at chess. And that came to fruition in 2000s, where it did happen, and the reigning world champion was beaten by AI. So when we look at AI, we should consider it to be an industrial revolution-like change in our industry. This is going to change the core way we do things. So it's not the shiny next object, it is the new way that business will be conducted going forward. So we're not ahead of that curve, and we're not adding value to our employees in the way they do business and keeping their skill intact, to our clients that rely on us for the services we provide, then we will be left behind. To that effect, I think it's slightly different than some of the other newer things that come along in technology. And so we actually have at Carrington sort of a committee that we're forming, because there's not one standard application of AI for everybody across the board. Marketing has their own needs, the call center has theirs, operations looks at RPA. So we want stakeholders, and the first step is to educate. It's not about using the buzzwords, it's about understanding the applicability and then making sure that we leverage the technology for the maximum potential that we can for our company.
That was a lot of really good information. Thank you. My mic's open. Parkland and healthcare, can you guys hear me? Let's change that. A lot of really good information that you just shared there. It's very similar to Parkland. We have to have a need. I'll reflect back to what happened in the COVID pandemic. Necessity brought about massive change in the organization. We had to rip the guts out of the institution and figure out how to stand up clinics in parking lots, how to support remote work, and it really was pivotal. And because of the successes that we had during our challenges during the pandemic, digital health is now the tip of the spear for our next 6-year plan. So when we're looking at how we adopt technology, we're looking at ways to make healthcare approachable, which you did hit on. How to get people out of our emergency department. Parkland is the #1 busiest single-site emergency department in all of the nation. I'm not bragging, it's just what it is. It's not a situation that we wish to endeavor. But driving healthcare out into the communities and making it accessible is absolutely paramount to how we survive. And using these new tools such as ChatGPT, LLMs, it is definitely on the radar to gain efficiencies because, again, we're overwhelmed with a volume of patients right now. So using these tools to help provide better outcomes or efficiencies with our providers is absolutely on the radar. The power is a bit of an Oppenheimer paradigm, right? It's a bit of a Manhattan Project. It's a very powerful tool. And you hit on something I want to focus on. Understanding it is a good way to determine how to use it and then how to put policy around it. Healthcare is typically about 3 to 5 years behind the rest of the world, but we're finding we have to catch up quickly. Otherwise, we won't have good outcomes. We're seeing the need increase more and more and more for better healthcare, for better user experience. So as CTO, we have to look at these opportunities to define them in ways that have immediate impact and bring about efficiencies and quality of care.
For proprietary reasons, I cannot specifically talk about how we're using AI in Chase, and any of the commentary that is coming from me today is definitely not representing Chase, so I did want to put the asterisks out there. However, as a leader in technology, we've had so many changes coming through in technology that has disrupted us. But this particular one with AI and ChatGPT, the generative models, there is way too much power behind it and how it can change our day-to-day life. Especially if you look at, how the smartphone revolutionized our lives. I feel AI is not the same, but even more powerful than that. So there are just way too many things that you have to be careful for, though, when you're trying to put it into practice in each of our industries, right? There is an attribution problem that we were discussing last night over dinner. We don't know why somebody was denied a credit card if the risk department is using AI, because guess what? It's a neural network. You cannot sequentially debug and say this is the particular reason why someone was denied a credit card. And therein lies the challenge of using AI for our digital transformation.
Thank you. So, coming back to ChatGPT and AI, I was introduced to ChatGPT very recently when my family was going for Hawaii, and they got the whole itinerary when they used the tool. So I was like, okay, cool. But it also made me think that it's going to disrupt so many different, industries or roles in the industry. So as leaders, when you are taking decisions on AI or ChatGPT, what are the things similar to, like, there is concern going to be there from employees that would I lose my job? Or, how is it going to be going forward? How do you address that within your organization before you adopt the technology?
from the perspective of how we can, disrupt using AI. There are just so many use cases that come to mind. One thing that you have to be very sure of, though, is all of us need to be more humble, more curious, and make sure that we are thinking about what is the next best thing that I need to learn, because the days of I'm the smartest person in the room are definitely gone. We all have this collective brain on the side that's going to dictate what is really the next big thing. So the one thing to be very, very careful about is making sure you're investing in the right people and the right culture for your organization where they're okay to frequently fail. And experiment fast, fail often, and hold your strong ideas weakly. So you want to pivot very quickly as soon as you figure out that something's not going in the right direction. You don't want to be tied up with that one idea that you began with.
This works. We'll see how this goes. We've been swapping mics over here. A lot of great points. When we look at this, the use cases are indeed multifaceted within healthcare. There's the efficiency side for productivity. There's the healthcare side, which simple use cases come to mind as doctors receive messages in the message box from, or they receive insurance claims which they have to write a rebuttal to. So imagine that you've gone to school for all these years and you're spending quite a bit of time responding to a patient or to an insurance claim. And most often, if you've ever been to a doctor, you get that after visit summary, and it's written in a language other than the one that you understand and comprehend. So there's an immediate use case to drive efficiencies and use LLMs or GPT for pros and to drive efficiencies. Again, risk and reward, you have to worry about where does this information go, where's your PHI, where's your PII going? Are you putting something out into a public corpus that could be discovered and used against you or violate rules from the ONC or other three-letter acronyms? So we look at this thing from, yes, this is the LiDAR, and as I said earlier, it's an Oppenheimer moment, that it's a very, very, very powerful tool. This is so much more than a spreadsheet, which came about in some years back, and the accountants were throwing their hands up going, oh my Lord, I wonder what's my job. The spreadsheets are going to win. No, we have to understand these tools. We have to learn how to use them to be better at our jobs. Our jobs won't go away, but they will change. And I think we will be able to get more done.
So I concur with Jeff. It's about retooling. Our jobs won't go away. They will change. And it really boils down to your overall environment that you have at your corporation, because you need to be able to have a very dynamic workforce that's nimble enough to shift and change and repurpose and retool. I think we're still very far away from the sci-fi movies where AI takes over the world and we are left with no decision-making power. I think AI is fast and furiously coming up to speed. It doesn't seem such a sci-fi scenario anymore, but it's still people developing the platforms. The scary part of the flip side, more than the workforce retooling, is if you look at an industry like ourselves, where let's say we pay dental claims, we have a few different hurdles in adaptability, because some of our dentists are still using fax machines. Some of our large carrier partners out there, these are like Fortune 10 insurance carriers, they still have mainframes that they haven't sunsetted yet. So adaptability overall, 360, not just within the organization, becomes a challenge. And then when you look at things like credit card approvals, or you look at claims payment, we can't forget that this is not a self-functioning smart system by itself. It's developed, it uses learning models and learning data, and so it comes with its own inherent biases, right? So if you start denying claims for anybody who's over 60 and a certain age group, a certain race, certain ethnicity, certain religion, then the system just learns from you over time and then carries forward those same inherent biases. So I would consider more those scenarios as threats versus the workforce retooling.
Your fax machine actually reminded me. Last week I was working with one of the organizations for certification, and they said, we can't email you, but we can fax you. And I was like, I don't have a fax number. So I started calling my friends to say, do you have a fax number? So it was very interesting. Yeah, everybody needs to know when that's the disconnect many times. Especially in both of your industry, there is a lot of data that's being collected for predictive analysis, sometimes it's good for theory to decide what's coming up, but as consumers, we are always scared of how this data is going to be used. Now, from your industry perspective, how do you handle those kind of concerns? And what do you guys keep in mind when making those decisions?
Looks like I'm on deck. At Parkland, and again, I'm not speaking for all of Parkland, but we've been using predictive AI for 12 years or so to help us with sepsis models and to identify no-shows and other things that could introduce patient risk or impact our operational efficiencies. So when we go forward with this, we're looking at, again, at more pedestrian use cases to drive efficiencies for our providers. We're also looking at translated services because within Dallas, since we serve the Dallas community, it's English, it's Spanish, and it's also Vietnamese are our top 3 languages. So other languages will fall into there. So we look at these things as opportunities to, again, help drive the connection, help drive a better experience. To look at the, looking forward, we're trying to embrace the airline metaphor for how we support and provide an experience for our patient population. Because if you've ever had to go to a doctor or had to go fill out a pile of forms when you spent the night before doing the forms online, the experience is not very good. And I can say that in full candid disclosure. These tools bring about tremendous opportunities to bring about better engagement and more information. Using the data that's there, that we have, because we have amassed a considerable amount of data, will be better at helping us serve our population. So when we look at social determinants of health, or we look at the things that are driving certain anomalies in various neighborhoods, we can combine this data. And the intent is to look at the data that we've collected over years and combine it and season it in a way that's responsible to provide our patients with better, more focused outcomes. We did a very similar such thing during the COVID pandemic where we focused on the high acuity of COVID and were able to triage those areas with point solutions and drive out and do vaccine campaigns in those areas and keep the pandemic from worsening in those areas or becoming even more red. So the approach is one of hope, expectation, but also being responsible and making sure we're compliant.
So from our healthcare spectrum standpoint, it's we're so many things to so many different clients. So it's almost overwhelming when you look at the amount and type of data we have. And as we just talked earlier, we don't pretend to be experts in cybersecurity or AI. We're experts in delivering healthcare solutions, right? So we leverage our partnerships. And partners like Amazon, for example, come in and provide that expertise that we don't have and can't afford to have full-time bench strength for a company our size. So when we look at strategy, we look at going out, reaching out and consulting and advising and understanding what everybody's doing, and then we look at our clients and see what their needs are. We have a 100+ seat call center, and to be able to use AI in order to streamline those incoming calls over a product of 200 different spectrums, we have 250+ custom IVR call treatments for each client. So the environment gets very complex very fast. And we want to be able to ensure that the solution that's implemented is applicable and also it's adaptable, but then we have a strong bench strength with our consulting partners to come in and provide the resources that we don't have on site.
So, coming to the applications of AI and ChatGPT and many of the new technologies that's going around in the market, I remember a friend of mine who told me once that he was excited when he got his smartphone, but he also figured out that now his wife can FaceTime him every time he goes out. He was like, I'm not sure if that's it. I want to be using the technology. But ChatGPT, I can see a lot of kids now using that to do their homework for them. So these tools are really good. But how do we ensure that they are used the right way. Especially in all your industry, I mean, you come from banking and financial, healthcare, and industry. So I would like to start from you, Sujita. How do you ensure that the technologies that you are providing or tools that you are providing your consumers are being used the right way?
So using AI responsibly is definitely something that all of us are challenged with. We recently had some Congress hearings about that as well. Even the founder of ChatGPT is saying, yes, you need to legislate it and please do something about it, right? And the same reasons that you quoted here about schools and how ChatGPT can be leveraged or leveraged in the wrong way. However, we are also seeing some schools like the New York school actually doing the U-turn and saying, guess what, even if the kids cannot use ChatGPT in school, they can still do it at home and copy the same essay and, perfect it to make it look like they did it. So the whole point here is making sure that we are using it for the ways where it can help us be more efficient. There are so many things that it can do. Talk about government agencies and all the jargon that they put on their websites. If ChatGPT can make it easier for me to understand what it is saying over there, that's an excellent use case for using ChatGPT and having a conversational form filled out for a government application. So there's just so much more we can do, but like you said, it has to be done responsibly.
Responsibility is the key. The technology's outpacing our ability to understand it, to benchmark it, and to put policy around it or technical controls to ensure that we're using it in the correct manner. The biggest problem I see right now, and having used the tool for myself for driving efficiencies, is that how you prompt the tool, a subtle change in a prompt can drive a wide change in the response. And the other thing that I found out is that ChatGPT will never tell you that it does not know the answer. So it'll give you a very well-written bit of prose that could be factually skewed. And I think Rashmi said it very clearly earlier. Carbon-based life forms are still at the home of this thing. So it is subject to bias, and you could be unintentionally driving an outcome just based on the way you ask it a question or the way you prompt it. So again, we approach it with caution. We approach it in the same mindset that we're looking for efficiencies. More subtle use cases. I do see this thing evolving. Real-time analysis is yet to come. The corpus ceased at September 21. So it's really good at looking back. It's not really good at looking at what's happening right now. But as far as building efficiencies and building hooks into our systems and driving a better experience for people who log into our My Chart and want to have an experience, I think there's tremendous opportunity we can look at to provide good outcomes.
So we actually had this scenario happen in our household with the homework, and I hope this is not recorded because my 12-year-old already thinks I overshare with his hairdresser. We got in trouble for history assignment. Got a note from the history teacher from school saying that the school's honor code would escape because the history assignment looked entirely too grammatically good to be the work of my 12-year-old. And he's still taken this philosophical stand on it and is very offended that he was questioned for his history assignment. So that's a whole different discussion. I would equate it to, how many of us, and today's my day of aging myself, so how many of us look at our kids and say, why are they not outside like we were? Why are they not playing with their friends? Why are they on their devices? And how long did we fight that? And finally now we're coming to terms with the fact that this is their life. This is what we call a generational gap or change. They are growing up with devices. They have a cell phone at 10 years old, and I didn't even get my first one until my 20s, and I still carried the pager that only showed the numbers. So we need to approach the whole AI culture shift similarly. And everybody in this room, everybody that represents the technology industry, we are at the helm of it. And it's not just in our organizations, it's also at home, in our other interactions outside in the community. How do we set the stage for this? It's these congressional hearings, and it was so refreshing to once have a CEO not fight back and say, I've got this. There's no inherent bias, or Facebook or so-and-so is not, skewing the results of a major election in a third world country. It wasn't that. It was a very honest approach to saying, yes, we're in this together. We all see the perils of it. And yes, it could be a runaway train that runs over all of us. How do we fix this? So I would take the approach of every day when we're making decisions in our organizations ourselves, to look at the ethical side of things and not just the technical side of things.
Yeah, digital ethics is a different topic in itself. To all the audience, there are questions you can ask. There is a piece of paper on your table. If anyone is interested in asking a question to any particular individual, you can. And I don't know if somebody is picking it up. Or if you want to, yeah, while that happens, we'll try to leave the next discussion. Probably this can be the last question. As much as the technology is good, the security aspects of it comes into picture. I think the next panel will be discussing more in detail about things to keep in mind, do's and don'ts that you have to. But from technology perspective, digital ethics is one where you are consciously, from your end, you are making sure that you are not misusing the information or data in a wrong way. But from technology perspective or security perspective, what is it that you guys take into consideration?
So one thing that AI is enabling is malicious attackers to do much worse attacks in much worse ways than has ever happened before. So what we need to do as an industry is also invest in AI-driven defending mechanisms so that all the patterns and the ways that we have been using AI for figuring out a random attack can be actually handled real time, and make sure that we are investing in all of these AI-driven tools which are coming up. And by the way, the Gartner hype cycle no longer holds true. We don't have the luxury of waiting for, okay, this tool has just come in the market, let me wait another 6 months and see if it works fine. We are not talking about those kind of cycles anymore. We have to quickly adapt and make sure we're investing in the right technology. And the most important thing is where it makes a difference, where you think that you want to invest your money, is where you are actually a market differentiator. You can do something better than anybody else. That's where you need to build that, within the four walls of your company. But if it is something else, then partner up, like Rashmi was saying, partner up with other vendors. They're doing it for much longer, probably much better than you. So that's the smart way of handling this.
In healthcare, using a public corpus is highly dissuading. And I would also advocate that for anyone who's developing a product. Because if you're using these tools to generate code, let's say you want to do something that runs a really neat bit of software that you're writing, and now your software is public knowledge, it's public knowledge. So use cases come about, oh, we could do this and have an interaction with a chatbot and respond on microsite. Who's going to validate that it's a secure bit of code? Who's going to keep that code safe once you use these public tools? So I think we will see the genesis of the evolution of more private corpus or more controlled use cases through our vendor partnerships on how we embrace these tools. Just within healthcare, we're seeing Epic, we're a big Epic shop. They partnered with Microsoft and they're leveraging their platform for healthcare records. And use cases are being developed right now with Microsoft and the Azure OpenAI, which just moved over to GPT-4. But again, it comes back to mindfulness, knowing what your data is, what the value of that data is, and where you need to put it and how you need to use it. I've been using ChatGPT for quite some time, but I've always been very cautious. identify the information, and I use it to summarize, write prose, and become more efficient or help solve a little problem I'm trying to solve. I think mindfulness and again understanding the capabilities and the risk are tantamount to being successful in using these platforms.
So I'm very hopeful that by now most companies are not treating security as a sort of an auditory checkbox or the redhead stepchild that just tags along to the party with you. I hope that we are more conscientious, partly because of the regulatory compliance that's under play, the different client audits that are done, the SOPs that we fill out, but that security is kind of inwoven with the way we do things day to day. So you're not having to call a developer offshore and explain what OWASP means, right? You want to make sure that those rails are set and that they're then accordingly enhanced when it comes to implementing AI-based solutions. But like you said, being in healthcare, anything open source, anything that's publicly hosted is obviously extra scrutiny, a lot of attention, and a good use case of what type of data is also. So your data usage is greatly driven by the different types of data, and some data it's okay to have floating out there, and others it's absolutely not.
Thank you, guys. I'll go to some of the audience questions. The first question is for Jeff. It's from Badruddin Peter, call Care 24E. This question is: integration and interpretability has become a new norm for all SaaS-based applications. As you belong to healthcare industry, what are the measures you are taking to keep the data secure during the data exchanges with third-party applications?
In healthcare, we have a certain set of guide rules we have to adhere to. So if we do partner with an organization or entity that we exchange data with, we have to establish a BAA agreement, which ensures we're all operating at the same level. We have parity in how we treat the data, we understand the data that we're sharing. So if there's not a business associate agreement, we don't trade information with that particular entity. We're highly regulated, highly compliant. Like I said, we don't want an ONC event where we come and have people knocking on our doors and say, you have this many records leaked, because there's a per record fine that can stack up. And not only that, reputation is just unrecoverable. If you, the board, go up to Becker's Healthcare Review and look at the IT section and just pay attention to all of the healthcare systems that are under attack. We take extreme caution with our data. Encryption at rest, encryption in transit. We're always aware of what's happening with our data. And we take no exception here. So we will stand on the shoulders of giants when we come to using these tools, such as LLMs and ChatGPT, who will partner with Epic, which is our medical healthcare record system, and we will learn with them. I do see that UC Davis and some other Berkeley are also out there right now doing public betas for some of these tool sets. And I'm more than happy to let those guys cut a broad swath before I do. I want to learn from their mistakes. I want to make sure that we're treating our population's information in the best way possible, in the most secure way possible, without jeopardizing our ability to conduct business or risk our licensure or compromise anyone's data that might be in our system.
Thank you, Jim. The next question is for Suchita. It's from Nita. In the next 5 to 10 years down the line, which area in the banking sector would you have disruptive impact due to AI?
If I have to take a guess, it will be in the way that you interact with a bank, right? So if you think about it today, you actually either going on the web or going to a bank and talking to somebody in person. What I feel the future of AI holds for banking industry overall is more of a what you see in the movies, right? You are able to converse, maybe even in a cab with an AI, and actually have a conversation while opening a bank account. Okay, which one makes more sense for me? And have that personal touch anywhere that you would want to open up an account or do any business with the bank.
You know, I was reading about this earlier because of my research, And when you are talking about generative AI and generating contents based on prompts, there was music element that came up. It actually converts text to music. And I was thinking each of us have different tastes when it comes to music. And I was curious to know how it worked. So humanizing most of that is, they say automate the transaction, keep the interaction still personal. But if that interaction can be humanized and individualized, there is nothing like it. So yeah, I'm excited to wait and see how it goes. Now this will be the last question. Rashmi, you can take it from, I'm thinking again, just considering this topic. How can students currently in college prepare themselves for jobs or roles that will be necessary rather than obsolete in the future?
So I think my advice is going to be contrary to what you're probably expecting to hear from me and say, find that great career in data science or machine learning or, programming. I'm going to say the same advice I give my kids, which is find something you just love to do that you want to do for the rest of your life every day. That's a big decision, but who says that you have to choose one track? And the whole joy of being young is that you can then go ahead and experiment and try different majors, see what rings true to you. Because if you find that one thing that you're good at and you also enjoy doing, then you'll automatically be successful in life. That's pretty much a guarantee. But from a technology standpoint, I would say that currently cybersecurity, machine learning, data sciences are the most lucrative and most up-and-coming careers.
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Suchita. Really, I enjoyed the conversation. I hope you guys are taking away something from this as well. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. If you can please stay on the stage really quick, Jeff, Suchita, we're just going to give you guys a quick small token from the Chamber of our appreciation for you guys being here today. Thank you all very much, and we'll take a quick picture with our chairman if you guys please stay up here.
Thank you. Raj, you want to come? Raj?
Great, well thank you so much to our first panel. And now we get to hear from our first keynote speaker, Ms. Avni Desai. But before we get Avni and Lalit, our moderator for the panel, I'd like to help call up Mr. Aaron Pierce from ProJane, one of our big supporters of the Chamber, to help introduce our moderator and keynote speaker. Aaron is a partner with ProJane and brings with him an impressive background in investing and managing high net portfolios. Thank you very much, Aaron, for taking time out to introduce our panel keynote.
Thank you, Kamal. All right, well, as Kamal mentioned, my name is Aaron Pierce. I'm a partner with ProJane. And on behalf of ProJane, I'm incredibly excited to be here with you today and support this year's conference. At this time, I'd like to introduce Lalit Ahluwalia, our moderator for this morning's keynote. Lalit is an accomplished cybersecurity executive and a strong IT leader with a track record of successfully establishing cybersecurity programs and helping his clients be secure in the face of a constantly evolving cyber threat landscape. For 8 years, Lalit led Accenture's North America Security for Healthcare and the Public Sector after a decade in cybersecurity at Deloitte and PwC. Following his time at Accenture, Lalit served as Global Head of Client Security and Risk Solutions for WIPO Limited and as CEO for Inspire Enterprises before founding Digital X-Force, where he now serves as CEO. Please help me in welcoming Lalit to the stage. I'd now like to introduce this morning's keynote speaker. Of Me Decide. There, give it up. Avni is a partner and chief executive officer at Shellman, the largest niche CPA firm in the world focusing on technology and security assessments. She also sits on the board of Cogent Bank, a Florida-based community bank, as the director and head of the technology committee. Before joining Shellman in 2012, Avni spent over 10 years working for KPMG, overseeing IT risk management and privacy across national service lines. In 2017, Avni, a crypto enthusiast, launched My Crypto Alert, an app that provides a mobile solution for the alert and portfolio problems crypto investors face, and a tool to buy and sell coins on arbitrage. Avni has been featured in Forbes, CIO.com, and the Wall Street Journal, and is a sought-after speaker on various emerging topics, including privacy, information security, future technology trends, and the expansion of young women involved in technology. Avni is also passionate about philanthropy, serving on boards for organizations such as the Arnold Palmer Medical Center, Orlando Health, Central Florida Foundation, and Philanos. Moreover, she's an avid runner, always looking up to sign up for the next Disney marathon. So, with all that being said, Avni still considers her greatest accomplishment to be personal rather than professional. She is the proud mother to 3 children. She has a 10-year-old son, a 7-year-old daughter, and a newborn son. So congratulations. So please help me in welcoming Avni to the stage.
Hello, are you guys able to hear me? Yeah. All right, great. Avni, welcome.
Great to be here.
Yes, so one thing that let me start with this one, which is on the personal touch note. Her LinkedIn profile, if you go and see, it says Chief Momo 3. Obviously, people say Chief Executive Officer, Chief Information Officer, Chief Momo 3. Can you help elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, as mentioned, there's a lot of things that we can do from a professional level, but to me, my legacy will always be what I do personally, is how can I change the small part of the map that I came into and make it better? And what better way can you do that without the legacy of your children? So yes, I'm a mom of 3. I consider that to be the most accomplished thing that I've done.
That is fantastic. And by the way, thanks to the previous panel, Rashmi, Suketa, Jack, you did awesome. I learned a few things, of course, SOS, Shiny Object Syndrome. We'll talk about that in a few as well. But Avni, before we get into the topic, right, as you know, the theme is AI and cybersecurity, artificial intelligence and the cybersecurity. I'm pretty sure many people are chatting with ChatGPT, right? Some people are chatting with ChatGPT. If people haven't seen chai, like in Indian tradition, is a tea. So there's a lot of variations happening altogether. What I would like to see from you, what is your organization talking about when it comes to digital transformation? Or what you will see trending in that area?
Sure. So I run a cybersecurity assessment firm. We have 1,200 clients, so I see the gamut of, high tech all the way to low tech. What we're definitely seeing in today's environment is AI, IoT, machine learning. I have a client that just has the first humanoid robot, an actual robot that is going to go out. Yes, do I think ChatGPT is changing the way we do things? Yes, 100%. It is going to change the way we work. It is going to upskill. I'm a big believer that it's going to allow employees to really focus on the best use of their time, and the burden of manual tasks and repetitive tasks that, you don't go to college for, cutting and pasting, all of that, I think, is where we're going to start seeing ChatGPT. What we're doing at our organization is really something that I'm very excited about. Was we just launched 3 different proof of concepts. And I run a security firm, so I am a little hesitant to start using ChatGPT for the entire organization, but we're using a private instance of ChatGPT through Amazon Data Lake. And this is really exciting. So one of the proof of concepts we're using, I run a company called Shellman. Shelly, our chatbot, that is her name. What we're going to start doing, and what we've done,
So we've taken all of our HR policies, we've taken all of our emails that go out to the firm about new benefits, we're taking our code of conduct, our HR manual, and we've tagged it all and we've put it into this private using ChatGPT. And now you can ask Shelley questions like, how much PTO do I have left over? When does the PTO expiration policy happen? How many days of parental leave do I get? And we did a study with our HR team. In 30 days, they said that they saved 76 hours just not answering questions on the phone or through email. A really easy proof of concept. It took us 64 days to implement that from discovery to end. The next two actually took us less time because we had the framework. We wanted to arm our business developers with really good content. So we're a cybersecurity company. We do things like PCI and ISO and SOC just on the certification side. But what happens is when you call and you ask about, well, tell me the new version of PCI 4.0, they take the call, they have to find a subject matter expert, and then the subject matter expert will call. But we write about 10 to 12 pieces of customized content on a weekly basis. We tag all of that. We now allow our business development team to query that, and they can answer those questions right on the fly, especially, and these are in-depth questions, right? But we are putting the data in, we know it's accurate, we have tagged it appropriately, we've gone through QA, we've gone through teaching the algorithm and the model. The third, which we haven't gone live, is to put all of our PCI, our SOC, and our ISO testing in a data lake, anonymizing all of the information, and then we're able to tell organizations, SaaS companies, IaaS companies, PaaS companies, how they benchmark against their competitors. And I think that's going to be really exciting to be able to do. But I'm a little hesitant still because I want to make sure it's anonymized.
Now, one, that is amazing. I think you can really emphasize on some real life use cases that you're really using. Like what she was talking about, application.
Yeah.
It's not about the technology. It's about how you apply it.
Correct.
And use it, right? I wish I had the ChatGPT during my college days. And they allowed me to, I not only use calculator, but ChatGPT, I could read my exams. Hey, what's the answer to this question? It will be easier, right? I hope one day students ask for that too, right? I'll be allowed. But having said that, now when you introduce something like ChatGPT, by the way, I'm pretty sure the people in the room, right? We've kind of gone through, obviously, decades of digital transformation. What's amazing is the pace with the digital transformation is happening. Just like a year back, we were talking, or a year and a half, metaverse. Now we're talking about ChatGPT. Just like 3 or 4 years back, or 5 years ago, we were talking blockchain. Right? And everybody, the dog, half the population still didn't adapt to the blockchain and went to the metaverse. They didn't adopt the metaverse, and we have the ChatGPT. The evolution is happening. So how do you, as a business leader, help your organizations even get adapted to this massive change that is happening?
Technology is outpacing humans, for sure. I mean, that is, for anyone who says that's not true, I mean, there were some statistics that in the last year, we have made more data than we have in the last 100 years, right? I mean, so, adapting, for us, what we have looked at is, who do we want to be in the future? Because we can't, the shiny objects, we can't go to everything. Like, trust me, I thought about making our own crypto coin and, delivering that on the blockchain, and you can go buy Shellman gear with it, right? I thought about how do we have IoT devices? How can I use VR headsets and send it to our clients to do data center walkthroughs? We've thought of it all. But who do we want to be in the future is, I think, what you need to stop and think about. And for us, we want to be the most efficient tech-enabled assessment firm. And how do you build efficiency? And you can't have all the other things distracting you, because they will become distractions. And so you as an organization, what do you want to be in the future? What technology will help you enable that? And then start doing that. But you've got to be curious. I constantly say you have to reinvent yourselves every 5 years. It's probably every 2 years, or maybe every year now. And the way you reinvent yourself is, looking at technology, seeing how that technology is going to work. Do proof of concepts, do pilot projects, People who are at your organization, see what they're passionate about, and then bring them in. So the whole ChatGPT for us, it's an open source on GitHub. And we had 4 of our pen testers who were so excited about it, and I wanted to fuel that passion. Like, curiosity and passion is so important. I told them, well, run with it, and give me a proof of concept, and they were able to do it in 5 days. But we knew we wanted to be a tech-enabled, future-looking, efficient firm, and how do we figure out what technology is gonna help us enable that? Like, process, people, and then use technology to enable it.
Now, I think those are very good points, right? One thing I'll always emphasize is that one thing that's inevitable is change. And so much in technology. You have to adapt to the change. I think one of the questions that came to the previous panel was, like, for the students, say, what job is more secure? Listen, doesn't matter what job you get into, expect a change. It's gonna happen, it's inevitable. If you're changing with it, you have a job security. When you stop changing and learning, that's when life can get back to become obsolete. Right, now, headed to this one, right? One thing that I do wanna talk about this shiny object syndrome, and I cannot stop thinking about that because we are so, as humans also, right? On the one hand, we want things very simple, right? But when simple comes to you, you say, no, it's not cool. I need something more complex, more complicated, because of the people. And when it becomes complicated, oh, I want simple again. That being said, we only heard about a lot about the ChatGPT and the AI risk. In fact, we had this Senate hearing with all the top executives. What do you see like as the top risk when adoption of AI is? We only understood some use cases, but what are the risks you are taking when you're adopting AI?
Sure. So I think you have to look at AI like any technology that's out there. And if you take a look at any technology that's out there, there's going to be inherent risks. So we talk about bias, which I think is one really, something important we need to talk about from AI. But there's also other things like cybersecurity risks, right? There is going to be, one thing I have heard from a lot of organizations with AI, they said that we've decided that we're no longer going to allow our employees to use ChatGPT. And to me, I think that's not the smartest thing to do because as humans, we're going to figure out another way to use ChatGPT if it's not going to be on our work laptop. And that to me is even more scarier. Are they going to be sending information from their work email to their Gmail and then using their Gmail to use ChatGPT on their phone, right? Like now I don't know where the chain of custody has gone of that important information, right? And so what we decided to do is you can all use ChatGPT, but go to our code of conduct. If you use intellectual property of the firm or use client confidential information, you will be terminated. Very easy, like teach them how to fish, right? And that's, put the onus back on them. And so, so losing confidential information is definitely, when you're putting it into, an open source place. The other thing that I'm also a risk that I'm worried about is education. You have to educate people on the risks associated with it. And that is the first one. I mean, you've heard over and over, the people are the weakest link in the security model. It's true, right? You can put all the technology that you want in the world, but if they click on that phishing link, that's it, that's over, right? So making sure that you educate on the risks, on the benefits of it, how to use it, what prompts to use, making sure your prompts are not biased, using multiple prompts, iteration, I think is also really important from an AI perspective. But then, looking at access controls, I think is also the peripherals around the AI model. Everyone talked about blockchain and how secure blockchain was, and that you could never go in and you could never change the block. That's true, but it's not the block by itself that was allowing you to enable your new process or your new system or your new organization. It was all the peripherals around the block, right? That was the weakest link, right? You use crypto, your wallet got hacked into. AI is going to be the exact same way, right? You're hearing so many things that use ChatGPT or OpenAI and then they add peripherals to it. You have to make sure that that is safeguarded with the safeguards from a security perspective. But then also, where's the data going? What jurisdiction? Is it going across borders? And that's when the privacy perspective comes in. You know, are you getting implicit consent? Or, I mean, so there's just so much, and that peripheral is so important. And you can't just rely on a third party without going through the proper due diligence for that. But you know what? That's the same with anything. You implement an ERP system, you implement, you know, a new IoT device. And so don't think of this differently, but it's just, yeah, you have to go through the entire process.
I think, again, you emphasize very important aspect, adoption and adaptation, both ways. You got to get that. All this change when it comes will bring obviously advantages and disadvantages, right? This has like, you know, benefits, also risks associated, how you going to get used to it, right? One important point that you raised about cybersecurity, of course, everybody's talking about cybersecurity, especially as we're living and transforming ourselves to the new digital lives, right? This is becoming more important and critical. Now, with the cybersecurity risk, of course, we'll have our next panel, which is just dedicated to cybersecurity and everything else, hosted, you know, moderated by Mr. Tejas. That being said, what do you see as the cybersecurity trends or the issues, or what you will be forecasting in the near future that's going to really come at home the world now?
Yeah. So I do think there's a couple of things. So we have heard all about, you know, privacy by design. Well, that's been around for 10, 12 years, like making sure that you focus on privacy with the developers. Now there's DevSecOps, which, you know, everyone's hearing about shift left. And I'm really excited about that because I do think finally we are seeing, I don't know who mentioned it, but, you know, security is no longer a check the box exercise. I remember clients used to always come to me and they're like, oh, the security auditors are coming. I better get my life in order. I was like, don't do things because the auditors are coming. Do things because there's a bad actor somewhere who's waiting to exploit your system, right? So finally, you know, I don't think cybersecurity is seen as a cost center. I don't think cybersecurity is no longer seen. It is revenue generation. I'm a big believer. If you are an organization that believes in cybersecurity and you have a culture of cybersecurity, you are going to see more clients. You're going to win more engagements. You're going to win more proposals, right? So that is a really great future of what cybersecurity is, and that everyone is on board. I mean, and I also think that you're going to see a disruption of new cybersecurity tools that are out there. You know, we're going to start seeing better, you know, attack simulation, threat vectors. You know, I'm really excited about, you know, zero trust, for instance. We're starting to see a lot of zero trust as well, passwordless servers and so forth. So I do think the future of cybersecurity is bright, but I also think people are starting to see that culture shift. It is a necessity. It is going to allow us to grow as an organization, and it's going to build trust. I mean, I constantly talk about trust, but that is so important. So let's talk about, I don't know how many years ago the Target breach was. But their stock went up after the Target breach, right? And I can't, in today's world, you look at LastPass and look at what's happening to LastPass, right? I mean, you see that is the difference of a decade. We, the consumer, are much smarter. We know what we want. We know what we expect. And we expect that our information is safeguarded.
And that is so true. You know, if I were to play like, you know, physical world and the digital world, right? Look how many centuries have been living in the physical world. Has the need for law enforcement gone away? Look at the violence around you, right? It's only increasing. When after centuries of that, it's not going to the digital world just be started adopting, and the ecosystem is only expanding. The need for that is only going to expand. Which actually takes me to like the next one, like which is, we talk about cybersecurity and privacy, right? But when you talk about cybersecurity, I'm pretty sure people know, like, it's all about data laws, finance laws, and other things, right? We're trying to adopt the new digital world now. Let's say you were driving a self-autonomous or self-driving car, right? And you're in the middle of the highway. And you're enjoying, like, you know, watching a movie or working somewhere while the car is self-driving itself. And you get a phone call from a hacker. Hey, buddy, you've been breached. what are you going to be worried about at that point? The data loss, or the finance loss, or the loss of life at that time? And the first question popping up in your mind, why did I trust this car? So, what leads me is there like cybersecurity and privacy enough, or do we need to start shifting the conversation towards digital trust? Because smart cities, smart homes, space tourism, remote healthcare, I can go on and on and on. You're trying to rely on so much of digital, and can you trust the digital? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's one over the other. I think it's the trifecta, right? I mean, I think to build trust, you have to have trust in the security and the privacy and the ethics behind it. Like, I really love the self-driving example, because who is building the ethics around the self-driving? Is it the developer? Is it a lawyer? I mean, who is it, right? So if you're driving and you have two self-driving cars, supposedly they say if you have 4 people in the car versus 2 people in the car, they're going to try to save the ones with 4 people. I mean, that's actually real. I mean, but who is making those decisions, right? There's just so many things that go into trust. But I also think it's the transparency that is going to allow you to trust. Because if I don't have those answers to those questions, and I can feel good about who is making those decisions, I'm never going to have that digital trust, right? And I think that is so important for all organizations here to say, make sure you have that trust internally, but you have trust with also your consumers and who your users are going to be. Because I think that's going to help with adoption and adaptation as well, right? But digital trust, we've stopped seeing, chief data officers and chief privacy officers and chief security officers. The rise of the chief trust officer is going to be the future. I think you're going to see in, 5, 10 years, because it's more than data, again, right? It's the ethics behind it. It's the, the futuristic behind it. There's just so many things that data is going to be part of. And data's intertwined in everything. I mean, there's nothing that I do on a daily basis that doesn't have data. I just met with a smart home company in Florida, and they are building an entire house that is pretty phenomenal. Everything from a toilet that will tell you what your diabetes or your insulin level is every morning and every evening, to a beacon that sleeps over your child to say, well, this is what you need to do to make them sleep longer, to actually capturing things like, are you walking enough around the house? You would have never thought your toilet needs to be patched, but now it does, because it has healthcare information and now it has potential PHI implications to it. So that's the future. And so there's no saying data isn't going to be part of every single thing that we do.
So let me ask you another question, which I think comes to everybody's mind, right? Which is, we've been spending all these millions and investing millions in cybersecurity and privacy, right? Take how many organizations? Still, you end up getting breached. Still, you end up getting compromised, right? So, what are we doing wrong here? Like, after spending and putting all the tools, in fact, the Uber breach, right? Twice in 6 weeks. Which technology have you not deployed, and which audit and compliance report you don't have, right? So, if we ultimately have to get a breach, let's save us some money, right? Let's not invest anything. Or what are we really doing wrong in that area?
Yeah, so, I talk to so many clients who are like, well, I'm going to get PCI and ISO so I don't get breached. No, reports are not going to help you get breached. And there is nothing, you are going to get breached. Everyone in here, we're going to get breached, right? But the impact and the resilience is why we do everything that we do, right? Ransomware attacks, great example. How do you prepare for a ransomware attack? Well, you have really strong backups that you don't want to pay the ransom. You can go back and you can get back to resiliency within 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, right? Malicious actors are always going to find a way to do things better than what we expect them to do. So getting a pen test to identify vulnerabilities and figure out how to exploit them and then fix it, that doesn't mean someone's not going to find another way to exploit it that's even better. But you just hope that the extent of that and the way for you to come back and recover from that is going to be a lot quicker. I heard this great story that said, you know, the reason that tennis shoes actually were invented was because the bank robber needed a quicker way to get from one bank to somewhere else, right? So all great technology comes from maybe not the best reason why, maybe a malicious reason why, but we gotta learn from it. And I think that's really important. So malicious actors are always going to outpace us, but we just have to have a way of being able to say, how are we going to be resilient? And that's the best that we can do.
Well, I got a bunch of questions over here now, right? Looks like pretty interesting topic.
Okay.
And I can see the relevance of that here. But I would definitely wrap up one thought on that one, right? On the cybersecurity and like investing millions, still getting foolish. The company that come to me and tell me like, hey, Molly, I kind of deployed over 50 plus tools and this and that and everything else, right? So I should be more secure than others, right? My answer to them is, you're actually more insecure compared to the one that have invested 20 tools. And ask me the reason why. Mainly because you now create the China walls by those technologies and stuff, because those tools and technologies do vertical function. They like really were deployed for what they do the best, but not integrated with other technologies. And as a result, now you left so many blind spots. Like so, without integrating things with each other, and when you're deploying that, there are more blind spots left. And those blind spots, as you said, like the bad actors, they're looking constantly, and they're smarter, and they're trying to outsmart you. That's where the biggest issue is.
And also, you know, technology isn't going to solve if you are not following up on all the logs or the red flags, right? There has to be a people component to it, or there has to be some component. Like, you can't just have all this great technology and say, but are you looking at the logs? Are you making sure that the firewalls are configured appropriately? Who's looking at your stock and SIM? Like, there has to be something that is done from a follow-up perspective as well.
So, I love this question, by the way, okay? So we all have that curious nature when our parents say, don't touch it. We want to touch it. And you're a chief mom of three, so you know better, right? How will companies monitor the privacy of data when employees use ChatGPT on personal devices? How are you looking to regulate and bring the AI ethics forward?
I don't think it's possible. You can't spend all your cycles trying to regulate something that is out of your control. I mean, I would have to have an entire team and be big brother and watch everything that they do and have keyloggers, and then you just build a culture that nobody wants to work at, right? So it goes back to teaching people the risks associated with if they do put data out there. So give them great examples. Do it frequently, do it often, do it in small chunks, and make sure that the tone at the top, all the way from the CEO down, people understand the implications of it. And you gotta do it over and over and over again. One person has to hear something 85 times for them to realize that is important. That's a lot. We tell people once during their security awareness training, and then that's it, right? And then we expect people to adhere to it. And you have to teach them, these are the privacy implications. This is what's gonna happen. Let me give you a real world example of what is gonna happen. Let me give you a real world example, and then don't use the stick. The stick is over, right? You know, you have to start teaching them. There's accountability, and there could even be, like I said, termination if you put client information in there. But you have to teach them what the risks are going to be, and that's the only way leaders and organizations are going to be able to manage the risk from a privacy and security perspective of emerging technologies.
You know, one suggestion I was given to one of the organizations back in the days when they said, our people and users don't want to do security awareness and training. I said, try giving $1,000 for training and see what happens. Because the bad actors get rewarded and monitored for doing bad things. The good actors are not. Try to make it a performance thing and you will see what happens. It's changing the reverse psychology in that, right? Now, I'd like this question as well. So, related to ChatGPT, how good can the UMs like ChatGPT be, or the people like bad actors using ChatGPT can get at social engineering?
Oh, Yeah, I mean, it's my, my pen testing team actually went into ChatGPT and said, give me 5 really good phishing campaigns. 4 weren't that great, but 1 was really great, and it was amazing. And I mean, we're 550 security experts at our organization, and we got an 11% hit rate. And I'll tell you what it was. It was a LinkedIn request from me. I know, to the entire firm. Like, who isn't going to take that LinkedIn request? And that came from ChatGPT. And I thought, well, wow, 1 out of 4, the other, 1 out of 5, the other 4 weren't great. But yeah, I mean, bad actors could definitely, the days of the Nigerian prince scam are over. Like, it is getting really sophisticated. And yeah, but again, that's, tools are always used. Like, why was crypto used? Crypto was used for funding terrorism, was used for child abduction, right? I mean, it was used for really bad things. But then you look on the other side, like, you can do microloans in Africa now because you have the ability of using the blockchain. You can actually stop the meth crisis and the opioid crisis if you use the blockchain. I mean, so the bad always is going to be there. You have to find what the good to complement that is going to be.
And I'll share another real life experience from the social engineering. So I was presenting at this finance officer conference in the West Coast, and the topic was social engineering, how phishing attacks are becoming very, very sophisticated, very hard to decipher what's real, what's not real. And this person who was the co-panelist said, I'll share something. I got this email from my boss. Of course, you get an email from your boss, get this done, right? This is urgent. What would you do next, right? You're like obviously tempted to do that. He said, the only thing is, in the end, it was say, thank you. He said, I know my boss really well. There is no way in the hell that he will ever write thank you. And I knew this was a phishing email.
So one thing that we have in our R&D, which I'm really excited about, is they're using AI for voice. And so we have 2 large organizations where we tested this, where we called their chief of staff. The chief of staff thought it was the CEO, and we said, can you please give me my flight information, and I also need to know what my passport number is? And they got it, just through voice, right? And we were able to get it. And so that's the phenomenal thing about, the use of, with social engineering.
I'm going to ask this question because this is, I find it very interesting. How often do you address who you want to be in the future and keep it connected to your past?
Oh. So, that is a really good question. I don't think I've ever thought about that. How often do I think about the future of who I want? Look, I think our entire story is based on where we came from. Why I don't think AI is going to take over the world, because I think of who I am today is based on experiences, curiosity, mistakes that I've made, how many times I've failed, how many times I've gotten up from my failure, right? So like everything that I think about in the future, I do take my past experience. So I'm a big believer. You have to fail a lot. And I don't understand why most people don't see failure as a good thing. Like, you go to science, like, you ask scientists, they have to fail to figure out what the next thing is going to be. Like, failure is wrapped into innovation. But the rest of the world thinks failure means I haven't done something well, right? And if you don't fail, one, you're probably not going to come up with really innovative ideas. Second, you're not going to really embrace how exciting that sweetness is after you fail. And yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with my past of how I want to be in the future.
I'm going to ask a quick question now, related to ChatGPT and AI. So, as a chief mom of 3,
Okay.
let's see who knows better, like, what's your kid's favorite movie, a Disney movie? You or the AI?
Oh, me, for sure. Me. Because ChatGPT doesn't have any information after 2021, so I definitely would know my kids' favorite movie.
That is all data yet, that's what I'm trying to tell. Okay, got it. Now, in this room, full room of a lot of technology entrepreneurs and stuff, right? A lot of them come from a highly successful background of startups. Some of them actually are jumping into the world of startups and stuff. They're trying to innovate, they're trying to make a difference, right? What's advice you give to them now, given the topic that we discussed, like about cybersecurity, the AI, the emerging technology, right? What is it for them? What do you think, like, they can be successful at? What's the opportunity ahead of them? How to really best capitalize it?
Yeah. Well, you're in the perfect field. I mean, hands down, this is only going to grow. So, well, one, that's probably 50%. But two, I would say the network that you have. Like, nothing that I do is a team of one. And, I think you said it best. You got to make sure you get a team around you that's much smarter than you. Like, my whole goal is to be the dumbest person in the room. I mean, if I can do that, I've been really successful because I brought in all the people to build something that's really great. And that is really important. Like, you can't go at it alone. You're not going to always be good at all things. And whenever I hire an executive leadership team, I hire people who are not like me. I got to be those concentric C's. Like, my weakness has to be someone else's strength, and my strength doesn't have to be everyone else's strength, right? Because we have enough bench power there. So that is, you have to build the right team. You have to, when you build the right team and they're not the right team, you got to let that person go very quickly. And feedback is a very kind thing. And so doing feedback immediately and honestly is also very kind as well. But look, I mean, I think the world is your oyster, and cybersecurity, AI, emerging technology is just such a growing, important, valued, finally very valued organization. Like, the CISO is now really valued everywhere. And I think the CISO now has a direct line to the CEO and not the CIO, which we could talk about that independence issue all day, but we're finally getting there, and it's an exciting place to be.
Oh, that's fantastic. And one last question now. So you spent almost a decade with one of the big four, KPMG. Then you jumped into this almost like a small boutique, Sheldon, and spent 13 years. Between the two, which one do you say has been a more fulfilling career, and what are some of the lessons you learned and advice you'd like to give the audience?
Yeah. They filled two different parts of the life that I needed. I mean, I think KPMG gave me a really great foundation of the type of employee that I needed to be. But when I came over to Shellman, we were small. I was employee 25, we were $7 million in revenue. We had like maybe 20 clients. What I learned was I wanted to be at a place where I had autonomy, right? You can't just give me accountability without giving me autonomy, right? You have to give me both. You have to give me room to be really successful, but then you also have to give me room and trust to also fail and be okay with it. And I couldn't get that, at a large organization. And the bureaucracy, I mean, being able to make changes at a large organization was very hard for me to do. But here we're agile, we're flexible. Someone comes to me and says, this isn't working, well, then we change it, right? So like, my lesson was, it was perfect for where I was at that time in my life, but, in the last decade, I needed more, and I needed more flexibility. And I'm a mom of 3, right? I have 3 kids, and I also needed more flexibility there. And I wanted to be able to go somewhere where people didn't have to go through the pain that I did at KPMG. I had 6 weeks of maternity leave. I was in Mexico when my baby was 8 weeks old. I was traveling the world again. Like, I felt like I had to choose between being a mom and being an executive. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could make an imprint of, you never have to pick between being a parent and being a good employee. Like, it's not work-life balance. When I think of balance, I think about me standing on one foot and I'm gonna fall. It's like work-life integration, and like, such a big proponent of being able to be a good mother, good sister, good daughter, and then also a good employee.
Well, one is fantastic. And thank you, Avni, for being the stage. Thank you for being the keynote, and thank you for sharing these valuable experiences. And I hope the audience enjoyed it. And a big round of applause for our club.
Thank you, Lilith and Agni. At this time, we'll have Sunil and Raj give you some gifts from the chamber. Thank you again for being here.
I remember something with people like Avani, and then Sucheta, also Rashmi Jain, then even Niti Ketan. These people should wake up every morning and look at their husband and say, damn, he's so lucky.
My husband's father's here.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Well, thank you again to Agni. That was very insightful. I got a good chunk of knowledge out of that and your success. So congratulations and thank you again for Agni's actually, as you guys probably figured out, she lives in Florida. So thank you for coming from Florida to be here today for our panel. At this time, we're actually going to take a short networking break. We've got booths set up outside. I know folks are eager to mix and mingle with some of our attendants here as well. Please feel free to speak to our keynote speakers, to some of our panelists. So please feel free to mix and mingle. Go check out some more booths outside. I trust that we'll be on the honor system. So if we can make it back here in 20 minutes, that'd be great. We've got our CISO panel coming up after this, and that's, I think, one panel you do not want to miss for our cybersecurity experts. So see you guys back here in 20 minutes. Thank you.
Still there actually. But we are also has a medical problem with them.
I would say the best way would be that you reach out to me over LinkedIn, please. That would be great.
We do everything that you're doing.
Am I on?
Merhaba. Merhaba, Canadian. First class. Going live right now, so. Waiting for my son. Right. More mechanical. All right. You belong to the bank?
Yes.
Are you from this bank? Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you taking my video?
No, it's a live.
Oh, you're live, yeah.
My news channel. So.
Okay, got you. Yeah.
You can
work
just
with Great Plains Bank. We're a small community commercial bank based out of Oklahoma. We have 4 offices here in DFW, Frisco, Irving, South Lake, and Fort Worth. So we work with, our specialty is that we work with small businesses with working capital needs. We also get involved with, there's an M&A type of a transaction. So we're a full service bank. We have all sorts of depository and loan products.
very good.
Thanks.
I'm a local media I'm associated with Chamber of Commerce from day one. So
Give me your business.
I will.
I want your
Give
business
me 1
card.
second. Yeah. When I stop it, I will come to you. Fish shop.
Thank you. You're live right license from LinkedIn.